Okay, the history of the COD Club. This is what Tafari and I would have looked like when the club started. Tafari would have been just like 3 and 4 years old. That's what he looked like when he was 3 and 4 years old. And that was me down there. And every day we'd go up to the place called the Tree House, where there was lots of dragonflies. That's where, in the Yan Sui faith and my personal religion, the scriptures that the whole thing's based on is called the Dragonfly Sutra. That's where that name comes from, the Dragonfly Sutra. It's me remembering the good old days back then when Tafari and I would hang out with dragonflies and read The Hobbit and hang out at the tree house every day and read stories and just be up in the mountains. We saw deers a number of times, and it was really fun. I had a backpack thing that I could, like a carrier thing. One strapped him on in front of me, like you see there, and another one strapped him behind me, like you see there. And we go up into the mountains every day. There he is wearing like an Ireland. This is when he was a baby. I used to that's a Bob Marley shirt I'm wearing. This is what I used to do every day. Because I was a stay-at-home parent when I was married, and then after that I was the single parent. So I would fold my legs like that, and he would fit perfect in there. It would make like a little cradle thing for him. And then I would sing Bob Marley songs to him. And it was a really special time. He was really, as soon as he could walk, he was like, I'd take him up in the mountains and he would climb. He was a natural climber in the mountains. Oh my gosh, he was brave, really brave. That coat, he wore that coat for a long time. We had cats, that's Judah. We had another cat named Ava, and then they had kittens. This was an outfit that Melissa and I made so he could be a whelp, which means a baby lion. So, anyway, here we are now. Then, by the time he was in high school, I got him a dog. And that's the dog named Bear, who's still alive today and lives with them. He's graduated high school and moved out and lives with Bear. There he is with that's the Sephiroth necklace that I gave him. One thing that Tafari and I have in common is that in spite of that everybody's so worried about him having the same beliefs as me, he still has a lot of things in common with me. And that's kind of where the COD stands for Care of the Devil. It's an AC/DC song. To everybody else it means cash on delivery, but AC/DC wrote a song called COD where they're all Care of the Devil. And so that's what this means, Care of the Devil, based on the AC/DC song, because Tafari and we both have this natural interest in the occult, in magic. When Tafari was like 3 years old, I bought him a tarot deck, and he learned it like he knew most of the cards and was fluent in the tarot deck at age 3 and age 4. And even in age 5, because I remember when he was going to elementary school, he still was really interested in the tarot deck, and we were just fluent. It was fluent in conversation. Many concepts of the occult are things that he just understood and took interest in. It's actually a mutual interest, in spite of everybody being so scared, you know. And so he wanted that necklace, and I gave it to him. It's the Sephiroth from the Kabbalah. So originally it was called the Crow Feathers Club. And And so then at one point I started calling it CFC, and I said CFC to Tafari once, and he said no. He said, no, you can't call it CFC, because he learned in school that CFC was one of the chemicals that's destroying the ozone layer. And so I said, ooh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we don't want that. So then we changed the name to the Revolutionary Crow Feathers Club. So it would be the RCFC. So originally it was the Crow Feathers Club, then it evolved to the RCFC. Based on the book, The Teachings of Don Juan, where a brujo, which means a witch, from the Yaqui tribe in Mexico would shapeshift into a crow. And we decided that crows were really cool. Tafari was, when he was really young, another thing that he really took to was the man that he's named after, Ras Tafari. Ras means Duke. After his coronation was Haile Selassie. I remember when he was like between like ages 4 and like 6 or 7, he didn't like Jesus and how everybody's Christian, and he thought it was stupid. He liked Haile Selassie. And I would say, no, Haile Selassie loved Jesus. Jesus is, a Rasta is a Christian, and he didn't really get that at first. He took to Rastafari way before he ever was interested in fact, he never really had an interest in Jesus. Till this day, I don't think he's really that interested in it. Right now, I don't think he's particularly interested in Haile Selassie either, but he holds it sacred because he knows it's important. His mom and I named him that because we felt like it's possible that Babylon would separate us from him, and then that way he could still find his background and the things that he believed in, even though they tried to take it away from him. But it never happened. We were able to raise him, and that's really cool. But we gave him the autobiography, Volume 1, and I want him to read it so he can understand who we named him after, because Haile Selassie is the ultimate story, and I mean, he's the coolest person in the whole world. Like, seriously, there's no one person that there's nothing about him that isn't 100% perfect. He's like the most awesome, so far ahead of his time. Nobody's cooler than Haile Selassie. I love him with all my heart. There's nothing more valuable I could give my son than an interest in Haile Selassie, who through his example, you should always make good choices in life. He's the best example of a human being there could ever be. So the occult and Haile Selassie are other early interests, because Crow Feathers Club is about mutual interests. Tafari is like, also, let's find a sport that you're into. And he didn't really like sports, kind of like me when I was a kid, but he did like baseball. And I bought him a mitt, and I bought a ball and a bat, and I got us each mitts and everything, and we'd go out. He didn't really like catching balls, but he really liked hitting balls with the bat, and he was a natural. If you look at Tafari, he has a baseball player build. You'll notice that because his mom's Hispanic, he has a lot of Hispanic features in his physical body. If you look at him, he has a baseball player's body. He's got the thick legs. I mean, he has a baseball player body, and it really does come natural to him. And so I gave him a logo of all the different teams. I said, let's pick a favorite team and let's follow baseball. And he chose the Angels. And I grew up right next to Angel Stadium. I said, no, don't pick the Angels. Everybody will think that I wanted you to like the Angels, because that's where I grew up, right next to the stadium. And he said no. He said, no, it's not because of that. And he convinced me it's true. And so then we followed the Angels. We studied where the franchise came from, and just knew the history, and followed the team. I subscribed to the newspaper, and we would follow every game and who won, and the players' names, and everything, and followed the Angels for a while. Today, my favorite team, I think, is the Red Sox, because he's kind of like lost. It burned out after a while. I don't think he just likes sports, even baseball anymore so much. I grew up playing baseball, and I like the Red Sox, so I've just he can keep liking the Angels. We don't need to like the same team. So then another early interest was Led Zeppelin. I was so proud of them. Led Zeppelin is, in my opinion, and I swear it's a fact, Led Zeppelin is the greatest band that there is. There's a lot of good bands, and I have other favorite bands, but Led Zeppelin is on just a whole different level than everybody else. Led Zeppelin is the best, and that was his first favorite band. He really liked Led Zeppelin. I was so very proud of him for liking Led Zeppelin. Then, right about that time, soon after, he also noticed Iron Maiden. I'm talking at a young age. He liked the Iron Maiden. He was like a first grader, second grader, something like that. He decided one day that he really liked Iron Maiden. And just like, even me, I mean, you talk to anyone that likes Iron Maiden, the artwork is like kind of like what converts you to Iron Maiden. First you notice the artwork, and then you listen to the band and you like the music, This is part of how I said we have the occult and kind of like the dark arts, type thing, that side of it. How the club's name Care of the Devil. You're like, oh, the devil? You and your son think the devil's cool? But that's where kind of that we both do. We both think the devil's cool, kind of, in like a rocker kind of a way. And Iron Maiden is kind of like where that started with my son. He got it. He's like, it made sense to him. He got it, hook, line, and sinker, and liked Iron Maiden. Then next came Tenacious D. I got the movie Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, and that just pretty much was icing on the cake. So if by the time Tafari was watching this movie, it was official. Me and Tafari had in common that we were both rockers. And in this movie, it has a lot of Dio in it. And Tafari started liking Dio. And the truth is, he liked Dio. He liked Dio in a more real way. Like, he likes Iron Maiden and listened to it. Led Zeppelin, that kind of came and went. He liked Led Zeppelin first, but when he found Iron Maiden, he didn't really listen to much Led Zeppelin anymore. He kind of graduated from Led Zeppelin to Iron Maiden, and then he graduated from Iron Maiden to Dio through this, and Dio became, today he's listened to more Dio than he has Led Zeppelin and Iron Maiden added together. He really likes Ninja Sex Party 2. I made him a playlist that has a bunch of Iron Maiden, Dio, and Ninja Sex Party, which are his 3 favorite bands. It has some Led Zeppelin on there, but I don't even know if he remembers this back in the day, because Led Zeppelin was what he liked first. But those are all such good choices. I'm still so happy about that he's so smart. Especially Dio. Dio is the most intelligent choice. Dio is if you're a rocker and you like the devil, rock on. Dio is the most intelligent and classy choice out there. Ronnie James Dio is a really great guy. He's not a jerk. He's not a narcissist. He treats everybody really good. And he's a really nice guy. The subject content in his lyrics are very good. He talks about medieval things, dragons, and that when if he talks about the devil and evil, it's like in a rock or cool way, you know. His messages are always very good. His whole pinnacle song is Holy Diver, which is based on Jesus. Jesus is the Holy Diver, and how we're selfish with how awesome Jesus is. And so just like Dio is just rock solid. I'm so glad that he likes Dio. Dio kicks ass. So those are some things that at this point we'll always have in common, especially Dio. At this point, Dio, and also food. Tafari loves food. He likes cooking shows. I was always a cook. That's how I made my living. His whole life I was a cook. And he loved my cooking. If you look on my playlist, the Green Robe diet, those recipes on the Green Robe diet are all recipes because I never made him be a vegetarian. He just naturally liked vegetarianism and understood the concept. And so he grew up, first he was vegetarian. I made him eat meat. He didn't want to eat meat. I said, come on, Tafari, you have to, if you're going to be a cook, because I thought he would grow up to be a cook because he was so interested in food. I said, if you're going to be a cook, you have to know how to eat meat. You have to have at least eaten meat before. And he didn't want to, and I made him do it. And then he eventually got used to it, but he didn't want to even eat meat until I forced him to. And so those recipes on the Green Robe diet, those are the ones that Tafari grew up. They're all classic recipes that I made him when I raised him growing up. He just loved my cooking, was always interested in it, and so Dio I take him. We go out to eat all the time. That's today. The Dio and going out to eat are the things that we have in common. And so that's what Crow Feathers is. That's what I called it Crow Feathers. That's what COD is all about. So there's a saying, one man's God is another man's Satan. And that is true. In our world, Babylon, the thing that I like so much about calling the club COD, which stands for Crows of Ducharme. Ducharme is my last name. His last name is Morrison, but I changed my last name. Morrison was the last name of my dad's biological father that he never knew. And when his biological father hit the road, his mom, my grandma, moved in with her mom, who was Rose Ducharme. So we're just as much a Ducharme as a Morrison. You know, pretty much we're only genetically a Morrison. We never knew the Morrisons. Today my dad's found some Morrisons and that, but that just recently happened. I'm like going on 50, you know. And I haven't even met any of those people myself. And my dad just barely met him, and he's like 70 something. But the thing, the Crows of Ducharme, or Care of the Devil, it means both those things. The AC/DC song and Crows of Ducharme. Crows, I told you what that is. That's the history of our club, is this idea of crows. And Ducharme, because we're both Ducharme. So I'm a Ducharme, he's a Ducharme. But the devil part of it is because the majority is always wrong. That's a huge value that I want to teach my son. It's the secret of life. The whole secret to happiness and success is realizing that Babylon is the beast of Revelations. It's the beast of the apocalypse. And to live the lifestyle of the beast, Babylon, is to be the whore that rides on the beast. A narcissist, 666. 666 means narcissism. And narcissism is the practicing. The mark of the beast is in your forehead because it's in your thinking, and it's on your hand because you do it. If you think it and do it, you're a whore riding on the beast. And that's my devil. That they worship You know, the Jesus they worship is the person that was piercing that guy that died on the cross. Who I worship is the guy that was being pierced on the cross. I worship the guy that was being hung on the cross. They worship the guy that killed Jesus on the cross. That's how I'm different from the majority of people who worship the white Jesus. I worship the black Jesus, who is the one that actually died for us on the cross. And so one man's God is another man's Satan. So who they call the devil is who I call God. And Tafari, that whole sentiment, and you're all, oh no, that's so disturbing. But Tafari's got he inherited that from me. He's like, yep, I mean, he's right. That makes sense to him. So rock on, COD. The next video will be the song COD by AC/DC.